Welcome to the Board Game Snobs Podcast. Critically harsh reviews with a touch of class.
And go.
Oh, we starting already?
That's right.
No warm up?
No, this is it.
I hadn't even got to finish my roasted Japanese green tea. I was trying to get all sober for this.
Roasted Japanese green tea.
I get a box.
Well, I'm awake because I'm drinking liquid death.
That's just bubbly water.
Exactly. But it tastes good.
I've never drank a liquid death. I make fun of people who buy fancy waters.
I make fun
get
of
a
people that
box.
drink roasted green Japanese tea.
You've never met anybody until this.
Well,
Thus,
I'm making fun of you right now.
you can't make fun of me. You haven't said anything funny.
I can laugh at you, though.
Well, I get a box every month from a country, and it sends me all their various treats. And last month was Japan, and they had tea, and it was really good.
Is it a
So
black
there's
tea?
that.
A green tea? What'd you say it was?
A roasted green tea.
Roasted green tea. I like green tea. I do not like
green tea.
I do not like black tea. No offense.
I love me some lapsang. I love all tea just about. I love chai tea, any type of tea. Just
Matcha?
love it.
Are you a matcha guy?
I drink matcha. I drink anything. Tea is wonderful.
You know what I appreciate? I appreciate
What?
our listener Ryan with us today on the podcast is Ryan Maxwell. Ryan Cavs Maxing Well.
Howdy, fellas.
Greetings, Ryan. Welcome
I've
to
been
the show.
working on a personal improvement plan to speak less and wait until it's my turn versus the loquaciousness I've been blessed with as a curse.
How did you? What do you mean? You're on an IP. How did you get on? How did you get on an AIP plan? Did you put yourself on this?
I did. I have
And
come to the
why?
realization that I speak way too much, and not everybody wants to hear everything I have to say. So I've been working on letting the game come to me more.
So you get on a podcast so you can talk.
I was just saying how bold it is for our listeners to want to come on the podcast and how that warms the cockles of my heart, because a lot of these people, I suspect, have never done a podcast or anything, but yet they felt comfortable just to send an email and say, yeah, I'll come on. I think the Zoom culture has kind of made everybody a little bit better at talking publicly.
That, or it's like everybody's thinking, well, if they can do it, how hard can it be?
I think in this case, the people that are in the community, especially the Discord, have grown so much into a tight-knit group, almost familial-like, especially with you guys, that it is less intimidating because it's more just like a conversation with friends rather than being on like, a podcast or some sort of other broadcast where there's pressure to perform.
It's true. It's true. We have
No, there is pressure to perform. Trust me. We expect
For
a
you
lot
guys.
from our listeners.
I always feel pressure to perform when we go bowling together, but since you guys don't do that with me anymore, I don't have that problem anymore.
We are planning to resume all bowling activities at the BGG Spring. I'm planning on going to BGG Spring next year. So
Fantastic.
yeah, I got to get back to that. I've missed out. It's bothering me. I'm getting ready to go to me and Enrique are going to the Dice Tower retreat here in a month. So that's my current big board gaming event. But yeah, I miss Dice Tower Spring.
So
Yeah, I went to
Ryan,
Dice Tower Spring or BGG Spring.
I keep saying Dice Tower Spring. I mean BGG Spring.
Yeah, I went for the first time this year, first ever legit board game convention, and it was amazing. I had so much fun.
Played
And
with
I
Chad.
cannot wait to go. I did a couple times,
so for those not
and with Tommy.
in the Discord and not super familiar, Ryan, tell us a little bit about yourself.
A little bit about myself. Well, I have been a day one P1 of you guys since my first day of listening to you in 2019, I think 2020, somewhere in that neighborhood. It was before the pandemic, so it's probably 2019. And it is the one podcast that I listen to immediately when it comes out. So I have just been a huge fan of you guys for a long time, but I have got a big family. So that's probably the most defining feature of me besides my calves, which not everybody can see. And so I've got a bunch of kids and a bunch of board games and a bunch of hobbies that are all overcrowding one another. And namely, I love to play board games like we talked about. I love smoking and grilling meats. I love woodworking, and I love recreational athletics, coaching and playing, coaching youth and playing, church league softball and adult flag football and things like that. So not enough time in the day for everything I want to do, but such is life.
With the declining birth rate, we really are pleased that you have multiple children. I was just thinking about that the other day. There's just not that many people who have more than 2 kids. You got to have more to replace yourself.
Yeah, somebody's got to do it.
You had posted, I guess maybe it was your Facebook or personal Facebook. So how many kids do you have in school left?
Well, they're all still in school of some sort. I've got 2 in college. I have a sophomore and a junior in college. I've got a senior and a freshman in high school. I've got a 7th grader and I've got a 2nd grader. So 6 in school.
So seriously, how do you do it? Like, they're all involved in clubs and sports and plays, and you've got your own thing going on. I mean, do you sleep like 30 minutes a day? How do you schedule?
Well, I would say that it's mostly my wonderful wife, Leslie, that makes it all run. She is phenomenal as a human being and phenomenally organized as well. And so I just get to go to work, make the money, and balance the budget. She makes sure all the kids are in the right spots at the right time, make sure I'm in the right spot at the right time too, which sometimes is the hardest of the crew. And I don't get as much sleep as I should, but that's more my own fault than the hectic schedules. But the thing that makes it easy is that, like, the stuff that we are always busy with is stuff that we love. We love watching our kids perform, whether it's, theater for the oldest who's, trying to do that as a career, or sports for the other ones, or whatever it may be. We just love, watching them and rooting them on and coaching them and teaching them and all that kind of stuff. And I know I got lucky again that I had a wife that wanted a family and loves to spend time with the family, and kids that, don't mind being part of a big family and are willing to make the sacrifices that entails. And so it all it's not easy. It's a challenge, but it all in the end is worth it. And it's amazing. And we've got this cool little life that I hope 20 years from now, when the kids are older and starting their families, that they remember this is awesome and want to do it themselves, versus remember it as, oh my gosh, that was the worst and don't want to do it. But I think we're doing a decent job.
Yeah, it helps if your kids don't suck. That's what really the key to that is, that sometimes, out of every family, when I remember growing up, my parents spaced the kids out. Like, there was like 7 years between all of the kids, except between me and my younger sisters, like 13, 14 years. And so, like, about the time they were having another one, the other one was, when I was born, my oldest sister was already getting ready to get out of the house. So, like, they spread their kids out so far and were raising kids their entire life. And I thought, it doesn't sound right. You should just have them all bunched up together. But then I realized is that we were awful children, and that they had, it's like all of them. Looking back, it's like, yeah, you couldn't have had all 4 of us together. They knew what they were getting. They knew that their genetics produced rather awkward children. So they thought, we'll just have one at a time.
About the time they forgot just how bad it was, then nature reminded them.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
If our kids were the way that me and my siblings were, there's no way this would work. My kids are so much better to each other and with each other than me and my siblings were. And my siblings, my brothers and sister and I, we love each other a ton, and we're pretty close now, closer than a lot of siblings, I think, as adults. But man, as kids, like, oh gosh, I don't know how my parents survived it. My dad, about a year or so ago, digitized all the family videos, and this was a guy that had an old VHS that had a camcorder that had the VCR in a bag on his hip pocket, connected with the cables, and like that was attached to him just about everywhere we went. And so I think we have like, I don't know, feels like a terabyte of home videos that he had digitized, and my wife and I have been watching. And boy, I am so regretful and embarrassed and ashamed of some of the ways that I talked to my parents on some of these videos. And I don't remember being that way. And I don't remember in the moment that talking like that was bad. But as a parent now, I'm like, I'm lucky I'm still alive. Like, I don't know how I would have avoided strangling my kids if they talked to me that way. But my parents are saints, so
Yeah,
it works out,
I got
I
good
guess.
kids. I got good kids, so I don't have to worry about that either. I think that's really a big part of it is that if you get burned, the first kid you have that gives you trouble, you're like, I ain't doing this again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if
I
you
can definitely see that.
and you probably won't say, but if you had your
Which one's your
druthers-
favorite?
No, not that one. If you had your druthers on your your oldest son, I believe he's quite athletic and also in plays and stuff. If he could either go into the NFL or B, Hollywood, which would you prefer?
Oh,
Or
well,
Broadway.
for different reasons you might think, I would say sports, because you hear the horror stories out of Hollywood with, especially for younger people, with drugs and, some of the other scandals and things like that, that while they're not non-existent in sports, they are less existent, and you are in a kind of a different environment where that environment doesn't lend itself to some of that predatory stuff. But my true answer would be, I just wanted him to do what he wanted to do most in his life. And there was this moment on the football field, the last game of his junior year, where I knew that based on just a number of different factors, namely, the way the program handled its players and the coaches and some other things, and the fact that they weren't winning any games, I was like, I'm pretty sure this is going to be his last game, even though he hadn't talked about it. I just had that sixth sense, And then by Christmas of that year, he went from getting recruited for football and thinking that he was playing college football to quitting football, getting recruited for theater to be on Broadway. And now he's, going to school in New York to become a Broadway star, hopefully.
Very nice. I mean, there are, you can find problems. You can find predators and drugs wherever you go, but I'm sure there are, you got your Spaceys and Sandusky's on both ends of the spectrum. So
that is true. I think there's probably more money for younger players in sports than there are in Hollywood with NIL and all that stuff now. So I think there's, something to be said about if you're that level of talented, sports is maybe a better way to go, as long as you don't get, CTE or something like that. But who knows? I don't know. I just, like I said, my goal, my decision would have been based on what would be more fulfilling for him, because I just want my kids to be happy and successful in whatever they do. So that, in his case, was the acting, and that's what we helped him pursue.
He could have ended up playing for the Cowboys or something.
He could have definitely ended up playing for the Cowboys. It would have made it easier to get to his performances than going to New York like we have to do now.
So
tell me about the meats. I want to know more about the smoking and the barbecuing of the meats.
Man, what do you want to know? My favorite part about it is that every time you do it, it's a miniature science experiment. So many variables, especially if you're using, wood or charcoal versus, like a pellet smoker or something like that, where you have to really manage it and keep an eye on it and pay attention to things like humidity and the barometric pressure and the temperature and, all sorts of things like that versus, just throwing something in the oven or throwing something on the grill. I love smoking. That's my favorite, especially, briskets and pork butts.
That smoking, that's like a famous thing in Texas, because that's where all the Germans and the Czechs that had migrated to Texas, they brought the smokehouses. That's where that all comes.
The smokehouses.
That made Texas famous for its barbecue. So smoking meat is like that. People have a lot of opinions about that,
mm-hmm.
and the secret recipes and things of that nature.
Do you have
for me?
Green
I'm
egg?
not. Oh, go ahead.
Do you have a big green egg?
I have the cheaper Chinese version of the big green egg called a Vision grill,
Oh, okay.
but same concept. It's the domed Kamado ceramic
The
grill.
dome Kamado. That's a good one. Go ahead. There's a joke there. Go ahead. I want to know about the smoking of the Kamado.
Well, I mean, that's what those ceramic grills are called. Is a Japanese style of I don't know if it's a Japanese style of grilling per se, but it traps the heat in better. It's super efficient versus like your stick burners, they call them, like the reverse flow, old school kind, where you see the big barrel with the big pipe coming off of one end and the firebox on the other end. The Kamado grills, that ceramic holds in all that heat. So you use less charcoal or wood or both, the combination. And it keeps the moisture in too. So it keeps the meat a little bit more moist and tender versus sometimes how it can dry out, especially when you're doing smoking in the fall and winter when the air's drier too. And so it's nice. It's a little bit easier too, because if you're good at getting the temperature set, it'll usually hold that for quite a while versus, again, with like a stick burner where you got to keep refueling it, putting more wood into it and hoping you don't overshoot the temperature, things like that. But I like it. But there's also something to be said. I wouldn't mind having a whole like fleet of different grills and everything, because there are different benefits to the different types of grills and smokers for the different things you're cooking. The pellet grills are nice if you have to go somewhere and don't have time to babysit it and you just want to throw something on there and have it ready when you get home. Those big drum grills, smokers, like the trash cans, like the big 50-gallon oil barrels that they turn into smokers, those are great for things like chicken and ribs, anything that you want to suspend and get completely smoked.
They do chicken good.
Yeah. And then there's, the old school, again, the stick burners, which are great for anything that you want to pour a lot of smoke over and have it like blow over it, not be stale. They suck that smoke right across the whole exterior of the meat. So those are really good for briskets and pork butts, anything that's thick and unwieldy in size.
But as you get older, you get into either World War II or smoking meats. Those are the two routes that you have as you get older.
Or
That's
both.
just how it is. I don't even believe in therapy. I think the Tom Cruise
he fixed
viewpoint
everything?
of that. Yeah, you just got to think hard enough.
You just got to.
That's my therapy.
Bounce on a couch every now and then. You feel better.
I believe in science.
How long ago was that now? That's what, 20 years old at this point?
Might be even older than that. I feel like I was in college still.
Things we're referencing as if they were yesterday, and the kids have no idea. But thankfully, we don't have kids listening to this show.
It's crazy when those lists of like one-hit wonders or quote-unquote old TV shows come out, and you're like, I swear that show just ended like 3 years ago. And it's like, nope. Like The Office was what, like 10 or 12 years ago already? It's like, how?
At least, yeah.
That reminds me of shows and podcasts. This thing that everybody's doing now, once you've been on a famous sitcom or television show, that you now have a podcast. I don't like it. They've got the Office Girls or whatever. They've got a podcast. I just discovered like Jonathan Frakes and Brent Spiner, the guys off Star Trek, they have their own podcast, which is surprisingly pretty decent.
Will they name drop and ring the little bell?
Yeah. Well, here's the thing.
I tried listening to it. It's really not that good.
Here's how they could fix all that. Here's what the people really want.
2005, by the way, was when Tom Cruise bounced on a couch.
The characters from the show. That's what you need to have on the podcast. Everybody wants to be interviewed and have a podcast, and you want to listen to Michael Scott and Dwight. That would be hilarious. But no, not the actors. I don't care about the actors. I want to hear a podcast where Will Riker and Data and Worf are interviewing people, and they're in character. That would be hilarious.
I think you're 100% right. There's a YouTube channel or a guy, I don't know, that I've seen a few times pop up my feed where he's playing like Qui-Gon Jinn and watching the Star Wars prequels and pointing out the things that are going on and talking about like the backstory just as like goofy stuff. And they're all about 2 or 3 minutes long, I think. I think you're onto something there. I mean, the podcasts as they are with the actors talking about it, I think that all stemmed from, remember when DVDs had the director's cuts and they also had like the actor commentary that you could listen to, that track that you could play over it? I think that's basically was the foundation for these new podcasts. And I love hearing the, behind the scenes stuff and the insights and how scenes came together and how ideas came together from the people that were there and lived it for shows that I like. I mean, there's so many podcasts. There's too many podcasts. I just can't imagine. I can't believe, how many podcasts there are and that somehow they're all making money for these like TV shows and stuff. Cause like some shows will have like 5 different actors doing 5 different podcasts about that show. And they're all getting 1 million hits, or 1 million listens or whatever a week. It's crazy.
The problem
Yeah,
is they'd have to get the writer's room in there that they had for the show because them actors didn't do all that. It was the writers that wrote for the voice. They might, if they were a good one and, they kind of wrote according to their actual personality. But like Dwight, he is not Dwight. Whatever his name is.
Well, no, not
Rains.
No.
He could not get on there and pretend to be Dwight. He'd have to have somebody write for him because he's not funny.
Goodness gracious. Yeah, you're showing your ignorance, Campy. Obviously, it's the actors that bring it to life. The writers just put together the words and all that. It's up to the actors to really formulate the character.
No. I mean, yes, but also no. There's people that...
Yes.
Jenna Fisher, and exactly what you're saying. You're listening to their podcast. They're not that funny. She's not Pam from The Office. So they would have to have the person that made her funny to write for her character for the podcast for it to be listenable to.
No.
Otherwise, you just get Jenna Fisher.
No, she's not acting though when she's on the podcast. She's just herself.
But he's talking about the idea you had of the characters doing the podcast. And I'm going to fall in between the two of you. I think that if you've played a character a long enough time, you probably can slide into that character's mentality. And I think it would be if you're just doing reviews and talking about the shows, just riffing off the cuff, I think you probably could do that without writers. But I think if you had writers writing a podcast where the characters are doing a podcast about the show they were on, there might be some extra hilarity in that.
You can channel that energy.
Some people
Most
might
definitely.
can, but like, have you ever listened to, not that he had a recurring character, but Ben Stiller, a comedy actor, every podcast I've ever listened to him on is absolutely brutally boring. He is just he is nothing like the character he portrays. It's fascinating how, they can channel that type of thing once they get going. And there's people that can turn it on. I was just listening to somebody talking about Woody Harrelson on Saturday Night Live. And they were saying how during rehearsal, he was just a dud. Like they said, it was awful. Like they were expecting the worst show ever. But they said once they said action on Saturday actual night live, he just lit up. So it's something about them being on, perhaps. And there you go. I shut down the conversation.
Yeah. I don't know about any of that.
There's some people.
All I know is the YouTube algorithms have blessed me if we're talking about characters, because I've seen the same Qui-Gon Jinn guy, Star Wars guy, doing it. His little commentary on the various Star Wars shows.
Yeah,
but I find it interesting when YouTube. The AI, it just knows. It knows I should watch something. And the other day, with my son, who's gearing up, loves watching football, and he's just blowing through all these YouTube channels, just watching various random sports clips. And we watched arm wrestling. Now, as we're watching arm wrestling, I am ranting and raving about how stupid this is. Yes, I understand it's the most oldest of competitions. 2 men there with their arms and they're trying to, pin the other guy down. It's like, well, who wants to watch this? The answer to that is me. I wanted to watch it because the algorithms showed me my spirit animal that I did not know this man existed until this day. Do you know who Devin Larratt is?
Nobody does.
Is he the dude with the giant arm and the giant hands, but it's only like one part of his body?
Yes.
Is that who you're talking about?
I didn't know his name. Canadian. He is a Canadian arm wrestler. He looks like a drunk uncle. He has zero. He's just this weird looking dude, but he makes what should be a horrifically boring sport of just two guys trying to arm wrestle each other. He makes it amazing. This guy talks trash on a level that should be studied. It's amazing. And he pins guys. Like he's fighting these German guys that are like 420 pounds that look like they're roided out, and he's beating them. And it's like there should be no way that he's this stout in his arms. But he's like 50-something years old, and he's wiping these guys out. It's insane. But the trash talking in arm wrestling is insane. And this guy's attitude, the show he puts on, and how he just kind of, I am obsessed with arm wrestling now. It just blows my mind.
Who?
How entertaining it is.
Was it, what'd you say, Devon Larratt? Is that what you said?
Devin Larratt. Larratt.
No,
Devin
that's
Larratt.
not the guy you're thinking of, Ryan. Ryan, I think
Yeah,
I know who
no,
you're
it's
talking
not. I
about.
just looked this guy up. Yeah.
That I
This
think
guy looks like
you're talking about that
he looks like
IG guy who's got like his forearms look deformed. Is that the guy you're talking
Okay.
about, Ryan?
Yeah, I think he shows up on some videos. Yeah. Boy, I just popped a bunch of videos. He looks crazy. Like he looks like he's almost got one of those diseases where your skin swells up.
Yeah, it looks like gigantism of the forearm and hand.
Jeff Dobby maybe is the guy we're thinking of.
Yeah, you would think he'd be a
DAB?
world champion.
Yeah, that's it. Jeff Dabe or Dobby. His arms don't match the rest of his body. It looks like he's wearing a costume.
Yeah, but he's got like a genetic issue though.
Does he, or does he just work out that one part of his body?
No, he's got genetic. He's got that.
The man with the world's largest arms.
Yeah, he's got like not that gigantism or that elephantitis or whatever you call it.
Yeah.
Which, as a sufferer of, there you go. I myself have various weird genetic traits, so I understand what it is.
If you type into Google, does Jeff Dobby, and it says if autocorrect or autofills have a condition.
Yeah.
It says, it's funny that enough people have searched that. It says, no, professional arm wrestler Jeff Dobby does not have a diagnosed medical condition.
What?
Have ruled out gigantism, acromegaly, I don't know how you pronounce that, and elephantitis, born with naturally large hands and forearms.
Wild. He's just legit. He's just genetically that way.
His ring finger is 5 inches around.
Good gosh.
There's something. He's got something.
That's bigger
The
than
dude
my
has
wrist.
to have something.
I'll give you three guesses what his nickname is, but you're only going to need one.
Popeye.
Yep.
Obviously. We had a guy in the fire department that had like a massive Popeye-like forearms that everybody called him Popeye. And I watched him once. Everybody talked about how if you ever have to turn on a water hydrant, it can be kind of awkward, with the wrench on top of it. And some of them were harder than others. But old Popeye could like turn it. It was just amazing speed because he was so stout with that forearm. It was weird to see. But anyways, boring sports. Arm wrestling. I don't know why I'm enthused by it, but I am. And it's my new obsession. But it's not the sport. It's just watching Devin trash talk. It warms the very cockles of my heart. It's amazing.
I'm going to have to check that out. You talked about the YouTube algorithm revealing your spirit animal or whatever. Have you watched a TV series or a movie because your algorithm started filling up randomly with clips from that TV show or movie on YouTube, and then you're like, this looks awesome, I'm going to watch it? Has that happened to you?
I did that today. Yes.
Yeah, it's happened to me with a bunch of shows. I'm like, I never would have watched this show. And in fact, I actively avoided a couple of them. And then my feed filled up with clips of it. And I was like, okay, I'll watch it. And then I'm like, this is like my favorite show right now. So it's crazy how the algorithm knows you better than you know yourself sometimes.
They just know.
Are you going to tell us what that is?
No, don't tell us. Let's wonder.
What show?
Most recently, it was the live action One Piece.
Oh, excellent choice.
I think maybe I heard you talking about it or somebody else in the Discord, but I was like, it's anime, whatever. And then a bunch of those clips started showing up in my YouTube feed. And so I watched the first episode. I was like, this is really great. I actually like these characters. I like the way the actors play them. I'm into the story. I'm drawn in. And I've watched, I don't know, like the first 5 or 6 episodes of the first season. And it's campy and it's schlocky, but it's well acted for what it is. It knows what it is and it accepts what it is and embraces it. And that's what makes it great.
All right, real fast, because Gabi did this the other day in Discord, and it caused me to have a bit of a crisis. He described a movie as campy, and that bothered me because I have an understanding of what campy is, but I couldn't define it immediately. But I think I know what campy is. What does campy mean?
I have always thought it kind of came from like the stories you tell around the campfire, where they're kind of goofy, exaggerated. Maybe the plot doesn't make sense because you're making it up on the fly, or you're retelling some lore that maybe you didn't really know the whole thing or hear the whole thing properly the first time. So it kind of just is, a little exaggerated, a little fantastical, but also kind of stupid because it doesn't make sense and it would not make sense in the real world.
You're nailing it. Exactly.
Am I?
Yes, that drove me insane because for a minute I'm like, campy. I know what campy is, I think, but I couldn't define it. And I sat for quite some time contemplating of movies that are campy, and this is campy. But what does it make it campy? What does that even mean? Before I looked it up, I couldn't bring myself to look it up. But yeah, campy. So One Piece is good. I don't do anime. I would love to do anime. But this is a live action thing. What is One Piece about? And what is the piece?
So One Piece is about a fictional Earth-like world that is now overrun with pirate culture. And not well, in a manner of speaking, sure. But essentially there was this one super famous pirate. He finally got caught, got sentenced to death, but before he died, he hid his entire fortune called the One Piece out somewhere in the ocean. That's what set off this resurgence of the pirate culture. And there are all sorts of different pirates. The whole show is kind of reminiscent of like Mega Man, where there's all these different pirates that are like the main bad guy pirates or whatever that have special powers that are all unique. And it's very much, it feels a lot like Pokemon 2, where you just go from one character to the next, and occasionally they'll make their reappearances in the show. And so the main character is this young kid named Luffy who grew up wanting to be a pirate. He ate some sort of devil fruit. They gave him this special power of being able to be super stretchy, and that's his superpower that he is, as a young adult, started to learn to harness. And
Stretch Armstrong.
But he's got a little bit of this Ted Lasso type attitude, and I think that's why I like it, because he's super positive and he's super all about letting people find their own joy in life and chase what makes them happy, and forcing them also to like not give into the situation they're in. I mean, the very first episode, or maybe it's like, I think it's the first episode, where this character that becomes one of his best friends, he sort of rescues him from this other pirate by forcing him to confront the fact that he hates being part of her crew and that she's abusive and blah, blah, blah. And he like throws him under the bus in front of the main pirate. And says all the things that this character would want to say, but is too afraid to say. And he says it for him, and it sets off the whole adventure of the series. And I think that's why I like that character, but the actor just plays it so well, so well. And it's just fun. It's not a show I would ever have turned on, except that I saw, I couldn't avoid the clips when I was scrolling through YouTube, and I was like, this is pretty funny. And I heard some people say some good things about it and started watching it, and now I'm hooked.
Isn't it interesting how one character can kind of like change the zeitgeist? How like Ted Lasso, now everybody has that urge, these writers, to put like a Ted Lasso type overly positive individual in these shows. It reminds me of how like Robin Williams in the Dead Poet Society, how like he ruined a generation of teachers because they all were like, I could be just like. That's how I think Tommy does in his schoolroom. Is that he just channels Robin Williams' Dead Poet Society and try to say really try to touch the hearts of all these young men with poetry and delightful sayings and things of that nature. I don't know. It's just kind of weird how one character in one show kind of just has reverberating effects for years to come. And we're still dealing with Ted Lasso.
Yeah, the new season just dropped this week, right?
Still dealing with Ted Lasso.
Last week. But to be clear, One Piece came out in 1997, was created in 1997. So pre-Ted Lasso.
I wasn't saying that he had anything to do with Ted Lasso. I'm just saying is that character, that show is new.
The show is new, but it's based on an old comic.
Yeah, it's live action, though.
It's got like 1,000 episodes or something.
Yeah, people channeling Ted Lasso's overly positiveness. That's the thing.
Who else
Everybody's
is doing
mimicking Ted Lasso. What?
Who else?
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask.
Well, like there's tons of those feel-good shows. Like when Ted Lasso was a thing, like there was tons of those shows that come out that they always had that one overly positive character in it that drove you insane. Maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm just so pessimistic that I view everything as being overly positive. I just watched Lord of the Rings, and that Samwise guy was really irritating me because he was all about getting the ring to Mordor. He seemed super positive the whole time.
So when you have something like that heavily, I mean, it's Ted Lasso is, I mean, yeah, I mean, you're not wrong. I understand. I see what you're saying. I'm not saying it doesn't exist. I was just wondering if you truly knew of like other examples that had that Ted Lasso type thing, because I think of like The Matrix. Now, The Matrix came out. Every movie after that was trying to do the same Hong Kong style martial art stuff, even though Matrix did rip off previous, martial arts type movies, but it brought that to the fore. Then you get movies like Romeo Must Die? Like everything after that was just that style of The Matrix until finally it kind of got wore out. So things do come, if something hits and it's working, Hollywood will just grab onto it and just puke it all out as much as they can so that they can make money off of that as much as they can.
Yeah, the post-apocalyptic teen survival genre that started with
girls with bows and arrows.
Yeah, well, now I can think of all the names of the books. What was the stupid name of that movie series with Jennifer Lawrence? Hunger Games. You had Hunger Games and Maze Runner, and then a couple other ones that tried that failed and didn't make it past the first movie in the series and things like that. That I'm glad that genre's run its course.
Divergent, god awful.
Yeah, getting depressing to see all like everything was post-apocalyptic, blah blah blah. And it made me long for like when our vision of the future was all positive type stuff. Like you had, like if you look at Star Trek and things like that, where there's conflict, but the future is a hopeful place. And I think it was just a sign of the times right then. But man, all those shows were just so pessimistic. And I think it might have affected a lot of the culture of that age too, and why they're so pessimistic now. These younger or older millennials, I guess, that have such a negative view on what the future is going to be like.
Everybody's getting ready for the zombie apocalypse. That seems inevitable.
Oh, if only. I'm one of those guys that I feel like I would be much more successful in the world if there was actually like a huge apocalyptic crisis, like a zombie apocalypse or Russians invading or something like that.
How so?
Well, because I just feel like there's more sense of purpose that I would find in surviving that and leading my family and my friends and peers or whatever versus, sitting in an office cubicle doing sales every day like I do now.
You'd be able to outrun all the zombies.
Yeah, I mean, arthritis is starting to catch up with me, but
well, if it happens, make your way north. I live out in the middle of nowhere, and I have an arsenal. I have tons of land for which nobody can find me. Even the FedEx guy, apparently. All right, we got to talk about some board games. We've been talking about kids and barbecue and Ted Lasso and arm wrestling. Is there a board game that you would like to discuss, Ryan?
As a matter of fact, so I finally got around to playing Ezra and Nehemiah last weekend.
Yeah, you got to
And
sell me on Ezra and Nehemiah because
man, it immediately shot to the top of my list of favorite games. In fact, it was when I first got into the hobby, every time I would play a new game that blew me away, I was like immediately buying it. And I finally got to a point where I could control that enthusiasm and that desire to buy stuff. And this game was the first time in a long time where as soon as I played, I was like, I have to go find a copy. And I did. It's a fantastic game. I don't know how much you know about it, but the things that I liked about it has a unique, to me anyway, action selection mechanic. So it's a combination of hand management, action selection, and worker placement, but they all do it in a slightly different way than I've seen in most games, and they combine it all together in a way that's totally unique. Namely, that your hand of cards all have these characters on them that have a set of flags, 3 flags on them of either red, blue, or gray in combination. And those are the action points that you use to take your actions for that round. And so as you play more cards with those colors or different colors, you can do more powerful actions of those colors. And it's very much it has a Stefan Feld feel to it as far as it's kind of point salady, but like with more strategy long term than like a game like Castles of Burgundy. And the decision space where, because you have a limited number of those cards that you can play out, and you're eventually going to not only have to cover some of them during the round that you're playing, but also at the end of each round, essentially retire one of them, which will give you a different permanent benefit and a different post-round scoring condition, but also take that out of the game for you for use in your regular turns. It was so crunchy, but the way it was crunchy was that like every turn you felt like the thing you were doing was a really good decision. It made you feel really smart, and it wasn't always the case. Even though it may have felt like that or looked like that in the moment, you really had to plan out turns ahead. And so you never had a turn that felt bad. It was never deciding between two suboptimal options because you set yourself up poorly. There was always a good or gooder option, but it wasn't until like, halfway through the last round of the game where you realize, oh man, 5 turns ago, if I had done this instead of that and set this up, I could have been marginally better, but it was still so fun. I got lucky enough that I won it. So that always makes a game feel a little bit better. But it was one of those games too, where I was like, if I had finished dead last 50 points behind, I had so much fun just puzzling this out. And the artwork was great and the components were great. And it was just it was immersive for a game that really has a theme that, the theme is obviously something that I connect with, being biblical and things like that. But it was also a game that you could have slapped a lot of different themes on it. It could have been a game about, science fiction space or whatever, and it still could have been the same game and played the same way. I think that's a good sign too, is that the theme didn't have to carry it like some games do. It would have been fine with a number of different themes. And I loved it a lot. Had an absolute blast playing it.
Yeah, Chad had played it. I didn't. I avoided it. I know Harrington, a buddy of ours, played it with Chad, and they really seemed to like it. I got Gabi a copy of it from Dice Tower Retreat. He has it. I'm not sure. I don't know. For some reason, when I watched them play it, I thought that the rules were going to be. I thought it was a little bit more heavier and disjointed than what I wanted to mess with. So we have it. I've never played it. And I have balked at the idea of trying to learn the rules and actually play it because it looked like it was too much. But I seen that you had posted about it and said that you really liked it, and I'm like, well, I might have to give it a shot.
Yeah,
It is,
and I thought the
does have a
same
solo.
thing. Sorry?
Yeah, it does have a solo, I believe, too.
It does.
Solo it.
I thought the same thing you just said the first couple times I saw it being played. And there is a lot going on in the game, but honestly, I could teach the game if I didn't have to go into the nuance of every single icon, because it does have a lot of iconography, but it's easy to look it up. And once you start playing a couple rounds, you figure it out. But I think I could honestly teach the game if people were paying attention and listening and focused, and there were no distractions of people interrupting us. I think I could actually teach the game in about 15 minutes. And if I had 30 minutes, I could probably get into a little bit of the strategy and how to really start thinking about the game with respect to the rules, because it's the other thing I like about it is it's a heavy game. It's rated 3.85 or something like that on BGG, But the complexity comes from the decision making and the setting up of your turns, not from the rules complexity. I mean, it is a heavier rule set than a simpler game. I mean, like I think for sure it's got a bit more rules to learn than Castles of Burgundy or something like that you would consider like a midweight Euro. But the heaviness really does come from the strategy and piecing out each move and how it's going to affect your game 3 or 4 turns down the road. But learning the rules, I mean, once you learn how the action selection works with those flag colors, and once you learn what the 6 basic things that you can do, 2 things of each color that affect the game in different ways, I mean, that takes 15 minutes to get down, and then maybe another 5 minutes to explain some of the iconography that you're going to run into more often than others. And then just taking your turn. And there was a little bit of like, it is a lot to dump on you at the beginning. So our first round took like 90 minutes, but that had a lot to do with not knowing the iconography and really trying to figure out what is this right move. But once we got into that second round and your strategy had kind of emerged on like, well, this is the path I've kind of set myself on. I need to keep following this, but not forget about these things. It got faster. So like first round with 2 new players, we played 4-player game. First round was 90 minutes. Second round was an hour. Third round was 40 minutes. And we were zooming through that third round and got done with it. And I think if the same 4 people played it again, and we almost did run it back right after, which we never do. It was just so late that we didn't. But I think if we had run it right back, we probably could have finished the game in 2 hours or less. Now that we all knew how to play and knew what we were doing and things like that. It's a fantastic game. And I hope it stays that way on future plays. That's always my fear when I buy a game that I fall in love with after the first play, is that like, okay, am I going to have the same feeling about this on the 5th play or the 10th play? And then I also have to remind myself I'm never getting to a 10th play of any game I own, because we go through so many games, and part of the draw to the hobby is discovering new games and new mechanics and things.
Right. I'm the same way. I've actually spent a lot of time here lately trying to figure out what makes me jump from one to the next. Like I enjoy playing certain games continually. I always come back to them, but like I'm always seeking out that new next great thing, even though, most of the time what you're looking for, you got on the shelf anyways.
For real. That's where I'm at right now. Is
Go ahead.
when we moved. I was just saying that's where I'm at right now with when we moved last month. And I realized that like 60 boxes were board games, and there were only like 120 boxes in our entire move. And I was like, this is kind of embarrassing. And I'm thinking about like, man, some of these games I haven't played in 4 or 5 years. I can't bring myself to get rid of them because I love them, but like they're not getting played. Why do I have these if I keep getting new ones? So now I'm on another self-improvement thing of trying to get rid of 2 games a week for the next year so that I can get my collection down to a very carefully curated 100 games. That's my goal. I don't know if I'll ever reach it, but that's my goal.
Nice. That's nice.
Because we have so many good games. We play the games we own, right?
Well, like we this might spoil a upcoming episode, but recently we played. Is it Revenant or am I saying that right, Gabby?
Yeah, correct.
Revenant, the new Mind Clash game. I had kickstarted it. I actually forgot that I kickstarted it, and needless to say, it didn't hit like I thought it would. And immediately after we played it, I was like, we need a palate cleanser. We need to play something that we know we will all enjoy. And I got my kids. It was Gabi and Enrique and my kids, and I just went and got Thunder Road, just the Vendetta, and set it up. I had the expansion. You can play 5 players. We played that and had a great time. I'm like, yeah, this is what we just need to play stuff like this. Like, stop chasing the new and trying to, especially if it's an ultra heavy game or that's got fiddly stuff. I'm just not I can't tolerate games that aren't functional. Like that little things cause it to be harder than what it actually is. I don't mind a game that is difficult because of the decisions. I mind a game that the interface of it, having to stop and look at a player aid and look up all this stuff and try to figure out what my next move is, simple because I don't understand what this icon is or how it connects. I can't stand that anymore. And so slowly getting those parsed out.
We have so many games like you were talking about that we've only played that we love, at least the time we played them. We've only played once, maybe twice, maybe 3 times. Out of probably I don't know what, I think I counted like over 100 games in my room, plus what Jerry has at his house that are collectively ours. it we keep trying, because the board game community hobby, especially when in discussions in the media, it just gets, this is coming out, this is coming out, this is coming out. And lots of these look good and they look fun and they have, oh, this does this and that I enjoyed in this previous game that I know I like, but let me try it out in this game. But then it has a billion pieces to it, tons of rules that are hard to understand. You got to keep going and looking back and seeing what everything means. And then you realize the effort you put into this big, brand new, shiny thing that cost a bunch of money and has a buttload of pieces is not near as good as Old Faithful sitting on the shelf that you've only played once.
So what game in your collection, I'll ask this to both of you guys, has the highest ratio of greatest enjoyment to fewest plays of that game for each of you?
Oh, goodness.
Mine's easy, but I want to hear yours.
That's a good question. Tell us yours while I'm thinking.
I love Joyride. It's a racing game that sits somewhere between Thunder Road and Heat, and is sort of like a Mario Kart Crash Demolition Derby game with some powers, but it's gorgeous. It has a million ways to customize the tracks and make, basically as creative as you are is the only thing to the limit of how many different unique tracks you can make. It has phenomenal racing and movement mechanics, and I've played it twice since I bought the all-in Kickstarter thing for it on Facebook Marketplace. And I got a great deal, so I don't feel bad about like I've wasted money or anything, but that game, we've only played it twice. And I thought when I got it, I was like, we're going to play this every weekend. My boys are going to love this. And they do. It's just we've got too many other things going on for them to play it as consistently as they want. But that's my game.
Thunder Road would be, that was the second time I played it. We played it once at Dice Tower Retreat. That was my first time. And then the second time at Jerry's. And I loved it at Dice Tower Retreat. And I freaking loved it at Jerry. I'm sitting there, I'm like, I was enjoying this game so much because it's just absolute insanity chaos. There's no strategy. You just do what you can do and try to bump or blow up or get ahead. It's just completely, what I can do at this very moment. And then somebody else will blow me up the next round. That doesn't matter because it's so much freaking fun. And I'm playing the game like, is this my favorite game of all time? After 2 plays? Because it is literally that fun to me. So that one, as far as that style of game, but as far as one that has kind of some strategy, it would be Lords of Vegas. I absolutely love Lords of Vegas.
Yeah, Lords of Vegas is good. That was one that was coming to mind, was Lords of Vegas, because it's such a great game for how simple what you're actually doing. And it had a huge Kickstarter not long ago, and it made it, so now it's way more available. I think the game that I know I've played it solo, but in terms of like sitting down and actually playing it with people, and I have sung the praises of this game, but Hong Kong Blackout. It is in my opinion the best Alexander Pfister game. It is an ugly game, but it is all the little mechanisms that he's used in previous games that he halfway was trying to figure out. He perfected them in this game, and I love it. It's a great little game about the power outage in Hong Kong, and you're the emergency services, and you're trying to just get the power back on and send services out to the area to help people. And it has this neat little mechanism where you have the cards, which represents your type of workers. There's a Mancala, as there always should be a Mancala if it's Alexander Pfister. And you're up getting different workers, and you're going this spot, and it's odd. It's an odd game. And I every time I start thinking about great games, I start going through and looking at various ones. I'm like, oh yeah, Hong Kong Blackout. I always come back to that. But yet, I think I have played it once with a group. The rest of the time, it's always just been solo. And that kills me because I'm always sitting in this game's praises.
Well, I wanted to play both of those. So when we see each other at BGG Spring next year, those 2 games need to be on the list because I wanted to play both of them. And if you guys like them that much and don't get to play them, then I'm going to put you on the spot and make you play them.
I've yelled at Gabi playing the few times for which we were begging Gabi was Lords of Vegas. Lords of Vegas has this super weird little rule that if you need money, instead of taking a loan, you can go gamble in another person's casino. Just roll the dice. And it has the little odds of if you roll this, you get they have to pay you this much money. But obviously a casino is the house. Everything is in their favor. Like, you don't want to do it. You want to use your money to build your casino up. You just want to wait a turn. Gabi was refusing to do that and kept going to people's casinos every time he would make a little bit of money and start rolling dice and lose all of his money. And we were all just we were looking up rules frantically to tell him to try to cut him off. We could not cut him off. And he literally spent the entire game doing a side thing that's not part of the main point of the game, just going into people's casinos and gambling and losing all of his money.
I might be a potential
Anyway,
degenerate if I had the chance.
yes, we realized that Gabi has a problem and he should never gamble because he could not stop himself in this game with all of us. Well, I was trying to look up a rule if you could cut somebody off, but no, you had to let them gamble if they wanted to. So yeah, it's a great game.
Also,
Consistently in our top 10.
even though I'm going to have to, I'll have to redo my top 20 one of these days, but Yokohama's my number one. But after your question, I'm thinking, all I can think of as far as obviously Ameritrash is going to have a more excitement level to it. Lords of Vegas is like more card driven, but it has a different, the gambling aspect to it. But as far as like a dry Euro, a game that just absolutely never disappoints me is Hansa Teutonica.
Mm-hmm. I knew it. I love that game.
Yeah, that game's amazing.
It's just
It
every
is
time I play it,
fantastic.
I'm like, it's crazy how boring, absolutely boring this game appears to be. But it is just so excellent, and every decision you make feels like, how do I upgrade my board, or do I build an office? Or it's just, I absolutely love Hansa Teutonica.
Yeah, that game set me off on a course of playing all the old ugly beige Euros. And now those old ugly beige Euros take up 10 of the top 20 spots on my list. I mean, there was something about that run of like 95 to 2015 that I think that was the golden age of gaming, looking back on it now, when I wasn't even in the hobby like that. I was still hooked on Scrabble and categories and Taboo and stuff like that. And man, that Hansa though is just, it's brilliant. It's maybe the best design game that I've ever played, as far as like just being as close to perfect as a design gets.
Speaking of beige dry Euros, I remember back in the day getting back into the hobby around 2013, 2014. And at that time, the big hotness was Concordia.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember getting Concordia, and never have I ever seen a box like it. It's this flat, long, weird shaped board game. And I remember taking it out and sprawling it out on my table and thinking it was the most beautiful thing I had ever seen. And even though it was all these weird, just flat, kind of beige Euro-y colors, and I got the rule book out, and my heart sank because I thought they had not sent the rules, because it was like one page. It is literally a pamphlet that says, here's how you set the game up. Here's how it works. Read the cards. The actions are on the cards. And it shocked me how simple and straightforward that game was. And everybody I taught that game to was like, all right, can you read? All right, well, just read your cards. That's what you can do. And all you're trying to do is go out and build your little trading stations, and whoever, that's it. That's what you do. And that game, to me, it's got a reprint here recently, and they're trying to get rid of the weird lady on the box, which I love my weird lady. But Concordia is to me, if I just want a dry Euro, man, there ain't nothing better than Concordia.
Yeah, it's pretty good. I finally got my own copy at BGG Spring, in fact. And it is the most unwieldy box when you've got nothing but calyx cubes to store your board games on.
Yep. It's weird. It's a weird one.
So
Yeah.
have you the Dice Tower did their award show where they did the games of last year. It says the game that won, the big one, was Galactic Cruise. Have you been able to play that one?
Only online. That is a game that I want to play in real life, but nobody wants to play it. They
Because
all
it's
want
so
to play something
big?
else. It looked gorgeous, but I've played it on BGA a couple times. I really like it. It's clever.
Yeah, I want to play that one, but it's one of those like we were talking about with Revenant. It's so much, and then once you play, it's like that's one of those. It's like you put this much time and effort into setting it up, learning it, doing all this, and then if I start playing it, it's like, oh, I don't really enjoy this that much. It would be so disappointing.
I think you would like it. I think you guys both would because it's got some clever stuff and the way it does that new thing that some games are doing where an action effect like the comboing of actions and being able to one action affects another action affects somebody else and stuff like that without like derailing anybody's game is really cool. And it's the theme is kind of unique. It's kind of goofy to think about like cruise ship stuff, but on a spaceship. But the colors are nice and the components are nice. It looks I've seen it being played in person. It's gorgeous. And, it, from what I understand, it plays fast once you get the hang of it and learn it. It's a little bit cumbersome to get started. But once you get started, it starts, smooth sailing on you. But I mean, I want to play that one in real life just because I feel like a game like that deserves to be played.
Yeah, it kind of makes me think of like it's a Lacerda game or something, but no, it's
I'm gonna ask
not.
Tom to teach it to me when I'm at the retreat.
There you
I'll
go.
let you know.
And that Luthier is the other one that won.
Enrique played that. Of all things, I have zero idea what that game. He tried to tell me about it, but I walked by several times while he was playing that at the retreat. And I could not. He said he was making instruments, and then later tried to tell me what he was doing. But he acted like he really liked it.
Yeah, and it won. Yeah, it doesn't really intrigue me all that much. It's again, I'm just looking at it, which as we're discussing is deceiving. But just looking at it, it's not a theme or a appearance that interests me. But I remember Enrique saying he liked it pretty good. And I don't know, it looks pretty good.
Speaking of games that don't look like you should like, there's tons of games that I was anti that game. I didn't want to mess with it and then became obsessed with it. So I'm thinking like It's a Wonderful World. Like that's probably my most played game online.
Yeah, that's a good one. That it's funny, I think the board game hobby has shown me that if I just am open to things that people like, that other people like, that they suggest for me, and just don't judge a book by its cover, that there's a lot more out there that I'd be into that I would have written off. Like, for example, all the Beige Euros and things like that, and some of these TV shows that we talked about earlier and things like that. So that's, I think, in a manner of speaking, the transitioning the hobby side of board games has really helped me improve that part of my life of being more open to new experiences. And so that's been a nice, unexpected side effect of the hobby.
3,025 games of It's a Wonderful World on Board Game Arena.
Oh, what?
That's my number one most played game. My second most played game, with just 343 games of it, is Let's Go to Japan. So that should tell you what all that I do on Board Game Arena.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I can't believe I thought I played a lot on Board Game Arena.
Well, the problem is that It's a Wonderful World takes like 10, if you're playing in the tournaments or the season thing, it doesn't take 10 minutes to crank out a game. And I can do it just mind-numbingly fast because you're playing with people who play this game all the time. You know the strategies. And so I've consistently ranked in like the top, like I think 500 players out of all of them. Sometimes I break into the top 100. I've beat the number one guy a couple of times. But other than that, it's like you just know how to play. You just buzz through it. And so like I was playing like 10 games a day of it. You do that for a long time and there you go. But yeah.
That's incredible. My most played game is Captain Flip with 1,255 plays. And then second is Gizmos with 475.
I've never played Gizmos. I need to play Gizmos.
All right, put it on the list for BGG spring.
All right. I played Gizmos.
We played it.
We did?
Yeah.
I did?
Yeah. You didn't like it.
I don't think I did.
Yeah, you did.
I did?
It's
Sure.
It's a long time ago, but yeah, we played it.
Is it in the, do you have it?
We played in 2019. Jerry Baker had
sure?
you had the lowest score of 16.
Oh my gosh.
We played when Mike McHughes went with us to BGG.
I think that's the sign of being in the hobby long enough to consider yourself a pro, is that you've played enough games that you have forgotten some of the games you've played. I'm not there yet. I'm wondering if
at the time you did not care for it. Maybe you've changed.
Who knows?
That was 2019 Jerry. That was pre-COVID Jerry.
Yeah, pre-COVID Jerry. That guy was a jerk. I'm much more laid back than I was then.
Mm-hmm.
I'm missing organs. So yeah. Well, Ryan, it was nice of you to come on.
Thanks for having me.
Snob's physical consultant of all sports activities. We got to get you a title. We've got our the snob psychiatrist. This is Michelle. We've got Sean Franco. He's our GMT expert.
I feel like Ryan needs to be our sports athletic liaison, something or other.
He's a sports director.
Sports director. All right. Well, I think that's going to do it for this episode.
Well, thank you guys. Appreciate you having me on. It was a blast.
Enjoyed it as always. Nice to talk to you again. And yeah, BGS spring it sounds like a go.
Excellent. I'll be counting down the days.
All right. Well, Ryan, thanks for coming on. I'm Gabby.
There's Jerry.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to the Board Game Snobs. Stay classy.